This is a red paperclip, just one of many hundreds or thousands of paperclips you could buy in a single box, which will only put you back a couple of bucks each time. However, what would happen if through the power of persuasion, negotiation, and just pure charisma, that you're able to trade a single red paperclip for an entire house? Well, that might sound like complete fantasy, but it's happened. And today, we're going through the entire story. You also might think that this entire idea is completely bonkers, and you'd also be correct, because it absolutely is. But if you have enough patience, surely you'll eventually get to where you're going. Just one step at a time, folks. This is Brainspill, my name is Tank, and today we're talking about the man who managed to trade his way from a red paperclip all the way to an actual house. I mean, these things don't happen overnight, people. And no, it wasn't just a one-off trade. This was a series of trades. Work it up from the bottom, slowly but surely, to keep trading whatever you own for something of more value. And eventually, you'll get to where you're going. And in this occasion, after so many trades, a house was the end result. In 2005, Kyle MacDonald, a Canadian blogger, embarked on this extraordinary experiment that captured the world's imagination. He set out to trade a single red paperclip for a house. What began as a whimsical idea quickly evolved into a compelling narrative of human ingenuity, creativity, and the power of connections. At first glance, a red paperclip may seem quite insignificant. Hardly a valuable asset compared to something like a bloody house. However, MacDonald's experiment showcases this remarkable hidden potential from something seemingly mundane. It serves as a testament to the idea that value is not intrinsic, but rather a product of perception and one's creativity. In a world where we're constantly surrounded by people who are flaunting what they own and saying that money is everything, in a case like this, you could basically make money out of nothing. MacDonald was inspired by the childhood game Bigger, Better, a game where teams trade ordinary objects with each other with the aim of being the one at the end of the game with the biggest and best item once the timer is up. A simple game, but something that you can use as a framework, but just more literally in a real life scenario. MacDonald's journey from a paperclip to a house was not a direct path, but that of a series of, well, quite frankly, remarkable trades he made. He traded the paperclip for a fish-shaped pen for his very first trade on the 14th of July 2005. That alone is a fantastic deal, mainly due to the fact that one of these fish pens is about 50 times the value of a single paperclip, so already he's off to a stellar start. Also, I know that a pen is nowhere near the value of a house, but we're getting there, people. One little step at a time. Either way, he made his first trade and got this pretty neat fish pen. Because I'm so impatient, I would have looked at that pen and gone, this is amazing, I'm keeping this, and then be done with it right there and there. But MacDonald had a bolder vision. He knew what he wanted, and a fish pen wasn't going to quite cut it. MacDonald had already set his sights on the next trade deal he wanted to make, and that was trading his fish-shaped pen for a hand-sculpted doorknob from Seattle. The first trade was in Vancouver, and the second in Seattle, Washington. This man must have been travelling across the country to make these trades happen with whomever he could find to actually make the deals happen. But remember, he couldn't just trade for anything. He had to make sure that each and every trade he made was always a step up. Look, I don't know about you, but a sculpted doorknob isn't really my cup of tea. I wouldn't find any value in that at all. A fish-shaped pen, mind you, well, now we're talking. But what you have to remember is that each trade might seem a bit odd, but there is the golden rule, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So, if he has something, he just has to find the right person to make a trade that's worth his while. As you might imagine, this whole process of trading revealed the arts of negotiation and resourcefulness. It demonstrated that value can be subjective, and that a successful exchange often requires an understanding and finding what the needs of others are. And, well, taking full advantage of that. I don't know what the next person's need for a decorative doorknob was, but on the 25th of July 2005, he travelled to Massachusetts to trade the doorknob for a Coleman camp stove, with fuel as well. I don't really know much about a Coleman camp stove, just been googling it now, but I know one thing for sure, it's a hell of a lot more expensive than a decorative doorknob ever would be. So, by that logic, it was a fantastic trade to make. So far, MacDonald seems to be playing his hand well. By each trade he makes, he gets something of bigger value. Bearing in mind we're only on like trade 3 or 4 at this point, and he's already got a camp stove with fuel beyond that of a red paperclip that he originally owned. Yes, all it takes is just slowly but surely climbing that ladder of just pointless tat until you get something of some actual value, and we're slowly but surely getting there. You're probably wondering how he was pulling this all off, how he was finding the people to trade with and making the deals happen. Well, it all came down to the fact that at the time, he made a website, offering to travel to people wherever they had something worth trading. So by making this viral marketing stunt and offering it out to the internet, he could find people who would be willing to make such trades, knowing that what he was getting in return was always going to be the better end of the deal. I know that the trades themselves would have been much more on the basis that those people trading things away with more valuable items knew what was happening. So that guy that traded away his Coleman camp stove with fuel clearly either understood what was going on here and was happy to sacrifice it, or he really needed a decorative doorknob. On the 24th of September 2005, he went to California and traded the Coleman camp stove with fuel for a Honda generator, which was capable of generating 1,000 watts of power. It was at this point that you can probably see that the trades are starting to get a bit more serious, and the quality of the items being exchanged was much bigger. It was also at this stage that the website MacDonald had set up was starting to pick up traction, and people were following the journey to see if they would be able to get involved and trade something to get him ever closer to his goal of purchasing, or trading, himself a house. MacDonald, when he was interviewed, basically said that he always knew he was going to get to the end point. It was just how many trades it would take him to get there. And, I mean, we're well on our way now, but let me tell you, it's not as many as you think. On the 16th of November 2005, he travelled to Queens and traded his generator, which can only be described as an instant party empty beer keg with a neon Budweiser sign. One of the most remarkable aspects of MacDonald's experiment was the role of networking. As he traded his way up, he relied heavily on the connections with people that believed in his vision and were willing to participate in this journey. MacDonald's ability to connect with strangers and turn them into his allies underscores the brilliance of this rather simple idea, and to utilise the intrigue of the public to help him achieve this goal. However, his first big break in this whole journey would come when a radio personality in Quebec, Canada, decided that he wanted to trade this beer keg and neon sign for a snowmobile, of all things. I have never purchased a snowmobile in my life, hell even ridden one, but I know the price. Looking one up online, you can get a base model for about $10,000. So the fact that in just a few trades he's managed to get this far is impressive nonetheless. By way of a recap, MacDonald started his trading journey in July 2005, and by December that same year, he had effectively traded his red paperclip for a snowmobile. So, where do you go from here? Well, he made another trade in the same week, where he traded the snowmobile for a 2-person trip to British Columbia, which was scheduled for February 2006. And in my opinion, this was a rather odd decision. So far at this point, all he had was material objects, and he traded that for another material object. This time, he traded something of physical value for an experience which not only isn't an actual object you can possess, but it was also time sensitive. If he wanted to trade this thing, he needed to act fast. He only had 2 months in which to actually get this off the ground and trade it for something of even more value. However, fret not, as this was actually a brilliant decision. On or around the 7th of January 2006, he traded the second spot on this yak trip for a box truck, offering an experience with him to then get a bigger item in return, putting him back in the game. Hell yeah, brother. You might think that's strange, but things would take an even stranger turn, where on the 22nd of February 2006, he traded the box truck for a recording contract with Metalworks in Ontario. On or around the 11th of April 2006, he traded this contract to Jody Nant, an American songwriter and pianist, for a year's rent in Phoenix, Arizona. As you can tell, we're talking about paying someone's rent for an entire year. This is starting to get to some serious money. And the next trade is probably my favourite of all. On the 26th of April that year, he traded the year's rent in Phoenix for one afternoon with the legend himself, Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper. The Alice Cooper. We are not worthy. However, as tempting as it might have been for MacDonald to take up Alice Cooper on the offer of an 18-hole round of golf, he wanted a house, and he needed to keep trading to get to that point. Exactly 1 month later, on the 26th of May 2006, he traded the afternoon with Alice Cooper for a Kiss motorised snow globe. Now, I know that there's some people out there that might consider this a step backwards, me included. However, you have to remember that even if the vast majority of people think that this is a step backwards, all you need is one person who is willing to make the trade to make it all worthwhile. And one thing you should know about Kiss fans is that some of them really like Kiss. That's right, all you need is someone who's a fan of Kiss and someone that loves multicoloured light up and motorised features in a snow globe. Funnily enough, however, there are a few Kiss fans out there who would be willing to make that trade, and one of them snapped this up on the 2nd of June 2006 for a role in the film Donna and Demand. Wait, what? A movie role? What's going on here? I mean, how do you even value something like that? And who was the person that traded this in the first place? That man was American actor Cobain Bernsen, in shows such as LA Law and Psych. Hence how he was able to offer the role in this upcoming movie. This would likely have a huge value to the right person, or the right homeowner, some might say. And sure enough, the final trade was lined up shortly afterwards. On or around the 5th of July 2006, he traded the movie role for a 2-storey farmhouse in Kipping in southeast Canada. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, MacDonald made it. After so many trades, he finally got the house he was looking for. And you know what? Hats off to him. That's pretty damn impressive. Kipping, the town with 1,140 people in it. So, although you won't have many neighbours, at least you're a homeowner on the ladder. All it took was enough patience and work, and 14 trades to make it happen. Although it took a while, he took his time to make sure that he had the right trade in mind, to make sure that he wasn't either taking a step backwards or completely undermining the purpose of the entire experiment. At each and every stage, MacDonald had to identify not only what was of more direct value than the possession he currently owned, but also how to capture the imagination of others to help him reach this goal. The trades for the snow globe and the movie role, which might not have been conventionally considered valuable, were enticing enough to certain people to keep the momentum going, and purely just waiting for the right person to come along and help you make the trade. And that is the story, pretty much. And as you might imagine, I know you're going to go away now to your stationery cupboard and try and get yourself a paperclip to start on the same journey. Well, hold your horses, because many people have tried this since, and whilst there may have been some successes, no one has been quite as successful as the time that this man traded a red paperclip for an entire house. If you guys like that video, here's another one just like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.